This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
Right now on 1480 KRAE, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 KRAE. And good morning. Welcome to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti, and we got a couple of special guests that'll be joining us. One's already in studio, and this is the fun part of our show on Tuesday. Get to talk about the local sports scene, and glad that we are involved quite highly in the local sports scene. And we bring in, last week we had East High Athletic Director Jerry Schlaps, and good friend of our current athletic director over at Cheyenne Central, Chad Whitworth. You guys go back a long, long way, don't you?
We do. We actually, many people probably don't know, Jerry and I coached at St. Mary's together before he went on to be an assistant, then the head girls coach at East, and I did the same thing at Central. And then he became the AD at East before I did at Central, but kind of followed his path there. But yeah, we've kind of worked together and done a lot together over the years, and then coached our kids together. So it's been, he's been a good friend for a long time.
Let me ask you this question, and I didn't really ask Jerry that. We, matter of fact, talked about when he first came on, when Rob Redmond was announced as the head coach on the girls program, and from that time on, East High girls have been a steady program. Same thing with you, Cindy Mossy, then you, and then again the Central girls program had its run of success, and it still is a good basketball program. Forgot to ask Jerry this. I'm going to ask you this. And we've talked about this a lot off air. Do you miss coaching at all? Because again, you have a very good reputation, especially on that basketball side as a head coach.
I do a little, I guess. What I miss is the kids and the relationships. It's just different. I'm in a different position now, and I don't see kids as often as I did when I was coaching and teaching. And as I've kind of gotten into this and the more years have passed, it lessens that desire a little bit, I suppose. But I certainly, much like I think Jerry would tell you, we got our fill a little bit coaching basketball with Garrett and Jackson and their friends, and also coaching baseball as they were growing up. Jerry coached football. I didn't do that. Jackson didn't play until he was a ninth grader. So I miss it a little bit. I certainly miss the relationships that I had with kids, and I still talk to Hillary Carlson, and if I see Chelsea Liebeck, at a game or something, I get a chance to visit with her a little bit. But just I still see some of those kids. Lindsey Fearing, who's coaching now, and I run into her every now and again, like even at the tournament where she might be, recruiting or scouting and taking a look at kids. So I miss that, but yeah, it's certainly different. I always tell people I don't think the officials miss me coaching. So
let me ask you this question. On the flip side of that, from the coaching part, you now have to be the boss of the coaches, so to speak. How's that relationship? Because again, you got communications is the key to all sports over at Central.
Yeah, I think that I think a lot of people, when they're disgruntled about something, oftentimes want to go, well, we're not going to go to Chad because he's just friends with them. Well, I certainly get along with our coaches, and I would say, yeah, they're friends, but it doesn't mean we can't hold them accountable. And there's certain expectations and things that they know we expect, and if they don't meet them, then we're going to have a hard conversation, and that's okay. We can still be friends, and I can still hold them accountable. And I think they expect that, and as they know, I expect them, in essence, to do the same thing with me. If there's something that I've dropped the ball on or things, they need to hold me accountable as well. So it's good. One of the things that we've done at school is I try to avoid weighing in on things that my son was participating in. So if we had an issue in football or basketball or whatever, we would have a different administrator handle that. Just because of the fact that Jackson might, either A, be involved or just he's in that program. So I think it's just better if, other administrators handle those issues.
You recuse yourself from
and I just think that helps. And in those types of things. Not always. I mean, there's some things that it's not that big of a deal. We just handle it and move on. But if it became, certain things, I wanted to make sure that it was all on the up and up, and nobody worried about whether I was weighing in on that or not.
Well, something that Jackson will get involved with coming up here this Thursday, game that we'll have here live on 1480 K. We're looking forward to it again, the Crosstown Battle, East Central. We've talked about this every single year, but again, it kind of feels like we got to ask you of East Central, especially on the basketball side. Again, you're a part of those rivalries, you know in and outs. How much does it mean, again, this community event that happens now at Story Gymnasium?
Yeah, I mean, it's just and we've talked over the years of how different coaches handle it different ways, and I don't know what Coach Schaefer will do. I know what I did when I was coaching. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to kids, and we focus on the varsity game. And Jerry and I have talked a lot about, it's a big deal for our sophomore kids that are playing in that JV2 game, and our JV kids, just to sort of understand that what the rivalry is and this, that, and the other. But, I think really what's been cool over the past few years and many years is I think it's been known for pretty good basketball, and I appreciate that, and I know Jerry does too. I think that both programs, boys and girls have been relatively solid. I mean, obviously East girls are tremendous, and so you have that, and I think that's the biggest deal for us, I think, is to say, hey, we've got competitive programs, which makes the game even bigger. I think you look at on the boys' side, both teams are 2-0 and really take charge of the quadrant. And us having gone away from seeding at 1 to 8, I think that's going to be a pretty big deal as we look at that. But, I think, as we've said every year, you just see people that you don't normally see. And that's what's cool about it. I mean, I think that's the great thing. And walking into that gym, I'll share a quick story, and I wish I had the names in the email brought up, but I got an email sent to me a couple weeks ago, and it was from the son of the person who, through stories, he thinks his dad scored the first bucket at Story Gym. And so was asking about, do we still use the gym and things like that. So when you think about Story and the history there, and it's a long and storied gym that tons of people, Scotts Bluff played them a couple weeks ago, and one of their assistants walked into Story Gym and was like, this might be the coolest gym I've ever seen. And so it's just a cool environment, and obviously with the East Central stuff makes it even bigger for us.
We want to ask you where, again, we've talked about this. There's plenty, again, where we can encompass football, but encompass like all sports, including basketball, where we say, hey, athletics right now in southeast portion of Wyoming is pretty darn healthy. Again, whether it's East, Central, South is getting there, but again, you look to our county schools, Pine, Burns, again, athletics is pretty darn healthy. I guess I want to get from your aspect where, again, you played the games, you've coached them, you're now athletic director at Cheyenne Central. What kind of contributes to that? Is it just the athletes? Is it facilities, coaches? Is it a combination of all? I mean, what makes kind of Cheyenne right now kind of the sports mecca here in Wyoming?
Well, I think it's all of it. I think you have really good coaches all over the community, and I think it gets into the youth. There's a lot of youth programs. Those things have been built up all over the place, and it is. I mean, it's in every sport. Like and it helps when parents are engaged and kids really want to get out and play, and then you get into the high schools and the competitive nature of it, and I mean, there's some difficulties just with the way that the system is set up as far as we have so many kids and we're spreading them out and things like that, but I think that it's a combination of everything. I think you have good parenting, you have good coaches, you have a lot of involvement in the community, and you have great support, radio stations and local businesses that get out and support these things and make it a big deal. Then it becomes really important for kids and families, and they participate.
It's interesting, talk about the participation aspect, and Jerry mentioned this last week too, with girls wrestling coming into the fold. And then I think about what Coach Barker has done with second season with the softball program, fast pitch program, and again the spillover that it had into the city leagues. And again, I remember asking this of an athletic director a few years back: is being an athlete still cool? and it was kind of like, it was a wavering type of deal. But it seems like right now, athletics, in addition to, being a student athlete, it seems like it's fun again.
Yeah, and I think that is the case. I think it's more fun. There's a lot to do. You do look at, kudos really to the Activities Association for sanctioning softball, for bringing in girls wrestling, because I think it provides opportunity, and that's really, and you hope, if you're a high school AD or coach, and you're the Activities Association, when you do something like sanction those things which weren't done in Wyoming before, I think part of that is the hope that it grows within the community, right? That's a focus of a high school, but if we do that, getting more participation in your youth programs and things like that, which only strengthens everything we do, and it helps build character. There's so many aspects of athletics that are important, outside of winning and losing, but it's just, being a good teammate, learning discipline. I mean, there's so many things that kids take from it, and I just think it's been awesome to see it. And I think both softball and women's wrestling will just continue to grow.
I'm glad that Nick brought up Central East, and I'm excited because, again, I've been tied up with LCCC over the last few years, so I have missed that rivalry, and I've been a part of that rivalry since about 1987 when I first saw my first East Central game. And what I like about this particular series, and people don't realize that, and like you said, you'll see it's kind of church of basketball. Those that just show up to church maybe for Christmas or Easter, but they'll come on out to watch East Central play. But things that people don't realize, this could be the first of 4 times that you meet, because you have 2 in the conference series, you meet in the regionals, and hopefully at state championship, and it really bolsters that rivalry. And again, South is getting there too. So one day it could be Central South, it could be Central East, it could be Southeast. So again, it just seems like it's so much fun that, hey, this is one meeting, maybe we'll see 4 of them.
Yeah, and it's happened, I think, a lot more than people probably realize. It's certainly 3, where and I can remember when Jerry and I were coaching, it was kind of, we ended the regular season against each other. We would end the regional tournament against each other, and then one year we played that happened where we played in the state championship against each other. And so you played them 4 times and then 3 consecutive weeks, which, certainly could happen for either of the programs, this year, because they will end the regular season with each other. And then I believe we go to Casper for the regional, and then obviously back to Casper for state. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting way that unfolds. And especially, like I said, you look at the programs and how competitive they are across the state, that you certainly hope that's what happens.
You like how I aged you there, huh?
Yeah, I didn't want to get into that.
Well, Chad, as we'll keep on the basketball topic, and again, we've asked head coaches this question. We haven't really gotten into athletic director, and again, you involvement with the Activities Association, where, again, at least it seems like it is confirmed, shot clock coming to the game here in the state of Wyoming, or at least it was kind of rumored, and it seems like it's going to happen. Again, is it long overdue? I guess it's an opinionated question toward Chad of shot clock. Does high school need it? Do we not? I mean, is there benefits without a shot clock? What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, I do think it will come at some point. Right now, I think it's just, there's an expense that's sort of prohibiting some of that. Certainly at the smaller schools. As far as my opinion, it is strictly my opinion. Do we need it? I don't know that we need it, but I do think it's something, I think one argument that you hear becomes, preparing kids if they go on to play at the next level. I think that's valid. However, I don't know that that's what our purpose should be. I certainly can see that. I certainly think that it would certainly help the pace of the game. Now, I don't know that it would help scoring. I think better shooting helps scoring. I don't know that, I can take a shot in 25 seconds, and if it's Chad taking the shot, I can miss it in 25 or 60 seconds. It doesn't matter. So I don't know that I can get into that. There's people who have probably studied it that would get into it. I would tell you that I would like it in that, I think that it certainly would at least possibly pick up the pace of the game. Now, I also am of the opinion that if they don't bring it in, I certainly think that there are coaches, I was not one of them, who would be able to, delay and do some things. If you have a less competitive team, that might allow you to stay in the game and maybe have a chance to win it down the stretch if we don't have that. And I'm not so sure I'm opposed to that. So basically, I don't know that I have a definite yes or no on it. I would say I do think that at some point it will be here, and I don't know how long that'll be, but I think we will get a shot clock in Wyoming.
We want you to look in your crystal ball as we again kind of get in opinionated questions on you, Chad. But again, we talked to Jerry about this. We asked, again, we've added girls wrestling, we've added softball as well too. Future down the line, not saying it's immediate, but again, the next 5-10 seasons from now, do we see high school baseball? Could we see lacrosse, esports, which is getting huge across the nation right now, again, from the JUCO, again, 4-year programs offering it? Do you see Activities Association adding new sports, or are we kind of happy with where we're at?
Well, I think all of that, first of all, I think people need to understand it's not the Activities Association that adds them. And I say that that schools need to initiate that process. The board of the Activities Association, or Ron and Trevor, they don't go, hey, let's add this. It has to come from schools and from school districts. And so what I would say is I certainly think it's a possibility. I think as you see that the success of softball and what I think will be the success of women's wrestling, I don't think that's off the table. I would also say that it becomes budgetary constraints for districts and whether or not they can afford, because every time we do this, we're adding coaches, we're adding officials. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into that, and there's only so much money to be distributed around anyway. And so I think that becomes the problem. And I also think that at this point, I've heard a lot of chatter about, well, maybe not a lot, but I've heard some about adding baseball because, well, now, the one thing I think people need to understand is that the Title IX issue for us, as far as a state goes, has been settled. We're now in compliance. We actually have, I think, one more sport that we offer for girls. So there's no force for us to have to do that. And again, I think it would be strictly up to districts saying, hey, we want to do this. And then I think we have to get 6 that commit to doing it. And then it would go forward to the board. You mentioned financials on a central aspect, again, as you keep an eye on the books. Inflation has been an all-time high, and we look gas prices and going back up here during the winter months. Economics, especially for this season, whether it's fall sports, spring sports, are we noticing a big issue or kind of concerns for future years, so to speak, of that budget kind of getting a little tighter? Well, I think it's getting tighter. I do think you certainly get with fuel prices and things like that, and that factors in for us when we're paying officials and the mileage that we have to pay when we bring them from out of town. We also increased officials' fees, and rightfully so. One, we struggle to get officials at times, and not that just increasing the amount they get paid is going to solve that problem. There's a lot that goes into it. I think fan behavior is one. I think coaching behavior is one. I think there's a lot that goes into that, but pay is certainly part of it. So we had an officials increase across the board from the Activities Association going into this school year. And so, yeah, it becomes a problem as far as you just really have to manage and keep an idea, keep track of, hey, where are we? And maybe we utilize fundraising dollars a little bit differently than maybe we have in the past, putting it more towards general fund items just to help supplement that.
We're talking with Central Athletic Director Chad Whitworth. Chad, you mentioned Ron Laird, and I do want to just briefly touch upon that before we take the break. And again, I think in my time here since 1986, and I might be off here. I know when Sandy Wilkinson was AD, Dwayne Shope was AD, and now you. I think all three of you have been a part of Ron's administration. I think there's only been 2 leaders of the Wyoming High School Activities Association in my time here, but Ron has been at that post for a long time. He said, stick a fork in me. I'm done here at the end of the year. Tell us about the relationship that you've had with Ron Laird. I know I've disagreed with him on various
We've
issues.
had our battles, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've disagreed with him. And again, I think Trevor has been that median guy who said, hey, wait a minute, this is our thoughts, and here's what the rules are, blah, blah, blah. But tell us about your relationship with the head guy.
Well, Ron and I have got to be really close. Part of it, when I got on the board, you served basically 6 years, and in that time, I became the president of the Activities Association Board. It happened to be the COVID year, so hopefully nobody blames me for that. But there was a lot that had happened in that year. We had a wrestling, an issue at state wrestling, and things like that I, not that I'm weighing in on as a sole person, making a decision, but Ron and I talked a ton over the course of that time, and we became very close, and I appreciate, I've been able to lean on him just with general questions, even about Central, saying, hey, what about this? And he has never once not taken a call. He's never once not helped me, never once not given me sound advice. And I certainly appreciate everything he's done. And I think, and again, I'm not going to get into some of the issues I know that you guys have had, but I do think he's done a nice job of building that organization up and doing a lot of things to help them financially even. And I don't know what it looked like beforehand because I wasn't a part of it, but I think he's done a tremendous job. And I think, Trevor is
he the next in line, Trevor Wilson?
I don't know. I certainly, the board, we've kind of got a canned response that we're supposed to give to this, but I think that the board is going to go through a process to hire the best person that they can find, and I think Trevor would certainly be on that list.
No, and I think it wouldn't skip a beat if he is named the new head of the Wyman High School Activities Association. We're talking with Chad Whitworth. We're going to take a time out. Come back. We got more stuff to talk about right here on 1480 K-Ray.
Hi, it's Lee at Absolute Flooring. It's time to put 2022 behind us and get 2023 off to a great start. The best way to do that is with new flooring from Absolute Flooring. With a large variety of flooring products and a multitude of styles, colors, and prices, your new floor awaits you. And with the best in installers, get your new year started off right with a stop at Absolute Flooring in the Cheyenne Plaza and at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store, absolutely.
For over 30 years and still delivering the results you expect is Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service. Hi, this is Larry Proietti again for Cars in downtown Cheyenne, reminding you that John and his staff are there to take care of your vehicle's woes. From oil change and replacing windshield wipers to digging deep into fixing your heating and air conditioning unit or fixing your brakes and shocks, you can depend on Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service for taking care of most minor repairs. And most importantly, John is a TechNet professional, which means he is one of the best nationally when it comes to getting your car or truck back on the road as soon as possible. Check him out online at technetprofessional.com. Don't wait until the last minute. Have your vehicle serviced by one of the best in Cheyenne. Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service at 604 West Lincoln Way. Call for an appointment at 632-0498. That's 307-632-0498. Open Monday through Friday.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there.
Heather's arm is in motion, but she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel? Introducing the Senior Travel Discount Network, brought to you by Low Cost Airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside discounts on over 500 airlines and 500,000 hotels worldwide. And when you call and mention the discount code 60 plus, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices on air and hotel reservations with your phone. We make it easy and fast for you to save money and book a trip. Remember, call the Senior Travel Discount Network, mention the discount code 60 plus for your free hotel night with your qualified reservation. Call now.
800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. That's 800-510-7126.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The Coin Shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The Coin Shop, a dealer you can trust, 510 West 16th Street.
Capital Lumber is lumber one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, paint, and tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. And we're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is lumber one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Since 1966, Cheyenne and Laramie County has depended on and trusted family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company for all your lumber and hardware needs at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Otherwise, for today, partly sunny. Expected daytime high near 28, mostly cloudy. For tonight, low down to 14 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny and breezy. Look for a daytime high near 25 with some patchy blowing snow. And for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy and breezy, or low down to 14 degrees, also with some patchy blowing snow. Winds will be out of a northwesterly direction at 20 to 25, gusting as high as 35. Back again on the Pro Show, Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti, longtime friend and acquaintance. Chad Whitworth joins us, Central Athletic Director. Chad, we talked about this before we got on the air. We mentioned East Central coming up at Story Gym. Unfortunately, the times that we live in, but it's no different than it was years ago too. I mean, again, it's a big city rivalry. We saw an ugly situation over at South. We addressed it with the athletic director this past weekend, and she knew what went wrong and how to correct it. Talk about Story Gym, because again, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, old alumni, everybody's going to be in attendance. What do we have in place just for security?
Well, obviously when we play those games in the intercity school, the intercity rivalries, we'll have SROs. I believe we'll have 4 of them available this week. Typically at school we have 1. If we're hosting a game there, a varsity level contest, we'll have 1 for basketball. And then like football, different because the venue's so much bigger. We usually bring in a couple more. It's unfortunate, and it is a little bit of the times we live in. I certainly couldn't say whether or not they had a police presence when I was playing. I just don't remember. I mean, I guess maybe because we were playing in the game, and after the game was over, you'd talk to your buddies a little bit and then head home. But yeah, it's just something we have to be aware of. And I think a lot of times what you see is, you have just a ton of kids running around, and it's just sort of kind of chaos for all of us. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter if it's at Story Gym or at the field house. We just have a lot of people, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you want those kids and you want everybody to come out and support it, but you also want to try to figure out a way to manage this and make sure it's safe for everybody.
Is it just basketball, football that you have to have that presence? Wrestling draws a pretty decent crowd. Again, you're now into winter sports, but again, it's more basketball. But is it the bigger name sports that you really have to have that show of force?
Well, I think it's just your bigger events. I think when you have any event that's going to have, and I would tell you, like East Central Wrestling, I think gets there at times. I've certainly been over to East where it's just packed, and you probably want to have it in those cases. But I think a lot's going to depend on, what do you expect for attendance and things like that. obviously, like for us, and Jerry and I have talked about this, like this year in particular with basketball, I don't know that our student sections, it feels like they're maybe not quite as big as they have been in the past, and it's when we used to play the Saturday games, we'd have a pretty good crowd, but I think when we put them on Friday nights, and in this case Thursday, I think the crowds are going to be bigger because people are here and want to be able to participate and take in the game. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's the bigger events, but I think it's just the bigger events in every sport, and kind of having an idea and a gauge of what that attendance number looks like.
Well, that event happening again this Thursday night, 6 and 7:30. Tip-off times, girls and boys action live from Story Gymnasium. East versus Central, again, a lot on the line. 2 top-tier teams here in Class 4A, especially in the Southeast Quadrant. So, again, looking forward to those ball games, which, again, we'll have here live on 1480 K-Ray. Again, we're talking winter sports right now, but let's go back, as we did with Jerry. Let's look back to the fall. Again, we got tennis, we got swimming, we got football. Again, football improving this season. But let's recap fall sports for Cheyenne Central of your take and what things, at least kind of positive, we saw out of Cheyenne Central.
Well, obviously we had some runner-up finishes in swimming. Our girls cross-country team won it, and congratulations to Sydney Morrell, who was yesterday named the Gatorade Athlete of the Year in cross-country. Honestly, and I think, football, we were better, and had a really good year, I thought, and ran into a buzzsaw in the semis, I think, and East saw it in the final. I mean, what are you going to do? You play hard. I just think that the kids, all of the athletes in our buildings, really, really work at it and really deserve, kudos for their efforts in showing up to practice. And this is all sports, and doing the work in the classroom and, keeping us competitive, and I think that's really the thing that I'm most proud of is I feel like we're pretty competitive in every sport, and that's awesome. From tennis to cross country, volleyball. I thought we saw significant improvement there, and so you get into all of those things, and you just see. You see them getting better and better, and that for me as an AD is something that I'm most proud of.
We go back to the East Central football game, and I think another thing too, you use the word proud, a very, very tough injury that we saw to Colin, your left tackle, and again, looked like a harmless play, and again, East knew right away, East staff knew right away. Again, your training staff was out on the field as well too. Talk about support staff. You again couldn't do your job without all those outside entities as well. Without question. And you look at that injury, and Colin is a kid that I've coached. He and Jackson are really good buddies. Colin's he's at the house on Sunday watching football, and so. But a devastating injury for the kids that are there. But yeah, you talk about, and I'm going to mention one. The whole East staff was fantastic, and Coach Goff, I've known him a long time and coached with him with Gavin as Jackson played some basketball and stuff with Gavin, and I think the world of Coach Goff. But Coach Eldridge sprints out there, and Coach Eldridge and I played in the East Central game against Travis, each other. I remember those days.
And I can't speak highly enough of everybody who was involved on both sides of that. But in talking with Travis afterwards, and what he did, where he's kind of grabbing Colin's leg and
he's stabilizing
and helping. It's an incredible thing. And he is an incredible human being, and I've thought that. I don't know that I thought that when I played him, but I've gotten to know him, and he is one special guy, and I think the Newtons. I know he reached out to them, and I know they were very appreciative of everything that everybody did. But I just remember having those conversations with Travis after the game and into the next day. And after that, it just kind of, went up to the hospital, took Jackson Labatos and Augie Lane up and went up and hung out while Colin was in surgery. And, those are the things. As I told my son, when you get into sports, that's what you get into it for, and it's those relationships and those friendships that you're going to build. Yeah, would it have been great to win the East Central game? Absolutely, and there's no question. But they forged a bond over this, and Colin's recovering and doing a tremendous job, and hopefully, I'm hoping that there's a chance he can maybe throw the shot and disc outdoor track this year. I don't know whether he can or not, but I see him walk every day, and I know in talking to him, he's really progressing. So I hope that's the case. But that's what high school sports is for. It's to forge some friendships, and I have them from when I played still. And that's what I want for all of our kids, and that's what I want for all kids that are participating in our community.
And Nick, you'd agree with me. I mean, I almost became a dad up there announcing the game, and I know I gave you a call the next day just to check on the young man too as well. Winter sports, and again, we have a lot. Nick mentioned the summer and fall sports. You forgot golf in there too. The final year for Mike Lepore
Coach
now
Lepore,
as Coach Georges will take over. But talk about moving from this group of sports into winter sports, because again, there's more sports going on, and that's a nice thing for your job, because again, you move from this group to this group, and then springtime comes around. It never ends.
No, it doesn't, and it just you kind of get into it now, and obviously with the addition of women's wrestling, and we just so the transition, you just kind of you're ready and you move into it, and sports, for example, basketball, volleyball, those sports are going to have open gyms and do some things. Softball, soccer are doing some of that right now. We hired a new soccer coach. That first, Dirk Dykestal will be the second soccer coach in the history of our men's program. And he and I are going to meet this afternoon. He's going to meet with some kids right after school, and then we're going to do some interviews for assistants. But you just got to keep going and hope that you don't miss something, and you hope that it's ready to go when practice starts. Because obviously anything outside of that, when they have open gyms, that schedule has to be flexible, because we maybe have to move something, or we're going to move something into the field house, so they have to be moved out, those types of things. And the coaches are tremendous about that. But you just hope that once the season starts that, A, we can get the weather to cooperate, which isn't always the case in the spring, and B, that everything is in place for them to be successful, both the coaches and the kids.
Chad, I want to get into facilities over at Cheyenne Central. I'll ask Jerry, similar question I'll ask you, again, regarding facilities. We know on the football side, new turf there, the field house, again, one of the more unique buildings in the city of Cheyenne. Cheyenne East recently got their state-of-the-art swimming pool to at least host events and have that official meets there at Cheyenne East. But I guess for you, Chad, needs, wants, are we happy with facilities there at Cheyenne Central, or are there things that need to be improved upon, or kind of do you have things on your wish list that, hey, if we get a little extra buck or two from the state, I'd like to invest here?
Well, we're going to get our track redone this summer as well. I think the district really wanted to try to do it, but with some of the supply chain issues and things like that, they were worried if we did both the turf and the track in the same summer, we may not be playing football on it when football opened. And so we are getting the track done this summer, which is needed. It's just there's some things that from snow removal and things like that just needs to be updated and fixed. And we're going to reconfigure some things there, as well. I think the district does a tremendous job of trying to update and upgrade the facilities when it can. It's just hard, and it's an expensive proposition. And so I certainly would never criticize or talk bad about anybody, especially at the district level, when they're trying, to use the money that they get in an effort to use it in a way that is positive and to upgrade and make everything as good as we can make it. And Jerry and I have talked at length every time they're building something, and my opinion of it is, do it right. Like we're going to put the money into it. Let's make sure we get it done right, and that way it's something that will be lasting, and hopefully no different than when we turfed all the football fields, we were able to obtain state soccer. With the changes that we've made, along with the city of Cheyenne's help to the CJL fields to allow us, we don't have state softball this year or next, but we have it after that. And so those upgrades and the money that the districts put in and the money that the cities put in have allowed us to secure some state events, which benefits our community in tax dollars and all kinds of things, down the road. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, if I could sit down and go, hey, these are the things I'd like, I'd do it. But I don't think A, it's appropriate, and B, I just don't think it's feasible, and I understand that. It's not, I don't think it's because everybody wants to tell me no. I think it's just because that's the way the money is and trying to get it funded.
The wish list of the $1 million Texas Stadium.
You know what's interesting, though, too, and I don't know where Wendy, yourself, and Jerry get involved with, again, when we went to All Turf. And, again, think back to playing out at the old Oakey Blanchard Stadium where you're playing in a mud hole, around the 50-yard line to the 40s, that type of deal, and the turf is just totally ruined. South comes into play. They play, I think, a couple seasons on grass. They turf it. The new Oakey Blanchard Stadium comes in with the turf. You turf it as well over at Cheyenne Central. The savings, we lay out that carpet, and it costs a lot of cabbage to do that, but we're not watering it. We're not laying down the intangibles to keep these things going strong. Are you privy to, hey, this is going to save us hundreds of thousands of dollars?
I certainly know that was, and I wasn't. It was all kind of done and laid out before I became the AD. But I know that was the cost savings was something that was shared amongst that in trying to make that decision. I often said, when they went to turf, that the spring group, and in this case soccer, was the one that was going to benefit probably the most from the turf because it was, it had the summer to rejuvenate and be great for football in the fall. But once we trampled that down and we get into the winter months and it goes dormant and it really doesn't come back until soccer's darn near over. And so I always felt like soccer was the sport that would probably benefit the most because they got the worst surface, and I think that's still been true, And I certainly love the new turf that we have. It looks great and it feels great, and we don't have kind of the splash effect that we had with our old stuff, and it looks great. And so I certainly thank the district and the rec mill and everybody who was part of it helping us get that.
We know LCCC also too benefits from that turf as well. When again the grass surface for their soccer programs. Hey, again snow that we do get, and again in that time in September, October, they make that transition over to again whatever turf available here in the city. Chad, I want to get into this where again you've been around athletics at Cheyenne Central for a long time, head coach, AD now, and this is something that kind of for me kind of interests me, especially this time and age of technology and how small the world has become, where again we look to these athletes on the high school level, we want to move them up to that next spot, whether it's JUCO or all the way up to that D4 program. I guess from back early 2000s when you were a head coach to again now developing as the AD, has technology helped out recruiting a whole lot better? Are we seeing more and more athletes, and not so much the big sports of again football, basketball, but again swimming, tennis? Again, we see some of these big signings coming from Cheyenne Central where again has technology kind of bolstered, especially for Cheyenne, Wyoming, that more eyes, more attention, more signees are coming out of Cheyenne or at least Wyoming in general?
Well, I guess that question I think is probably better asked to the colleges and how do they see them. But I certainly think that the ability to put our product out there, and I know that's kind of been a bone of contention with groups and the activities association with the NFHS network, and my response to that is, I understand where everybody's coming from with that, but people need to understand it allows us to stream all of our events. Nobody wants if everybody wants to come in and stream our freshman games and our sophomore games and our JV games, sweet, I'm all in. But we want to do them all, and that product gives us an opportunity. And I think to get to your point, Nick, is it's out there now, right? There's film that's available much more readily. And I certainly think that helps. When you get into Huddle Huddle was kind of primarily a football film sharing type thing, and they've developed some amazing technology and one of the things that Huddle does to kind of get to your question of the recruiting part if Jackson Whitworth plays a decent game, I get an email of highlights like the next day from Huddle. And so they do these things, which allows, I think, the athletes to promote themselves a little bit easier. And so I do think it helps. I do think that the times have changed. You know, we have obviously the NFHS camera, but we also have installed a Huddle camera outside and inside now. We got that done this week, where, you know, I could certainly stream our stuff now via YouTube. But for me, it just doesn't make sense when the state's going to do what they're doing, which I support. Then we use that Huddle camera for game film and things like that. And the coaches can film practice more easily. But the technology, in terms of just the increase in technology usage, it's incredible from when I was coaching. I laugh and we talk to coaches about it when they come in for the tournament, because we see them from all over the state about, you know, telling stories of I'd meet a coach in Glendo and we'd exchange a CD, you know, and now it's just so much easier. I'd go to games and film them myself. You know, our regional would end and I'd be driving through Casper and I'd be like, hey, we're going to play that team next week. So I'd just pull in and go film it and load up and head home. And so technology has certainly made that type of stuff. And to be quite honest, it's a much safer process for our coaches. That, you know, we were talking off air about the weather and the roads and things like that, that it makes it a much safer process for them to get film and to be able to scout and help their athletes.
Let me ask you this question, kind of not on the same vein, though, of moving on to the next level. And I was joking with you because in your office, where you held the media meals, so to speak, we had that opportunity to sneak in there during the James Johnson Winter Classic, and I chatted with you a little bit that Saturday, and I said, man, oh man, you got a lot of hardware in here. And as I looked at some of those trophies, you know, I was either on a call or, you know, I'd been to that event. I noticed when we went to East over at the Thunderdome, and they're starting to build their little library together, you know, and I can look on a football trophy. I think you were second place your junior year, and I see my son's name on that trophy. It's kind of neat. You know, you're on a few pieces of that hardware. There's a lot of pictures up there. I call it the mini Cooperstown. But again, what do you do with all of that? I know you have a vision, because this is something that you should showcase, that former alumni city should be able to see. This is absolutely wonderful, all of the hardware that Central has amassed.
Yeah, two things that I'd like to do, and I started one process, and I'm waiting to get some information as far as costs. But one, I would like to install a couple of screens and have kind of digital trophy cases. That would be one solution to our problem. The other is, you know, one of the issues that we have at Central is space for trophy cases and those types of things. I don't have anywhere to put them. You know, there's some talk maybe we can remove some lockers in that athletic hallway where the field house is. And if we do that, then we can put all of those trophies out there. And that's where they should be. I just don't have any place to put them.
But, you know, let me interrupt you there. To me, and again, not going to Central, and my high school right now, I think it's getting close to being 100 years old. But, you know, Central's been around for a long time, Cheyenne Central, or Cheyenne High School, going back in the day. It is breathtaking, though, to see all that hardware, and you know it as an athletic director. It is, wow, it is overwhelming.
Right, and that's why I want to get it in that hallway. I want to get some trophy cases added where we can put, because they're, like you said, you've been in my office, there's a ton of trophies in there, you know, and they need to be seen, and that's certainly the goal. And I've talked with Dr. Delbridge, who's our new principal this year, and she and I have talked a little bit with facilities about removing lockers down there, because if you've been in there, you know that where the lockers are, there, you know, that's where our trophy cases are. And if we take that stuff, some of the lockers out of there, if we can, if the students don't need them, then it would provide us an opportunity to add some of those trophy cases and expand that. But the other thing is, I would like to have, you know, that I've researched a little bit of some digital trophy cases and some ways to honor our all-state athletes digitally, you know, which is a little bit easier than what we're doing, because if we miss somebody, we have to remake all those plaques. this would allow us, if we miss somebody, we just can go in, get the picture, grab it, and add it, and we can organize that in a way that would make it pretty user friendly. There's some platforms out there that do it for you. So those are some things that I'm looking at to try to get done, over the course of the next couple of years.
All right, Chad, we got just a couple more minutes here before we get going. Taking a look ahead, we're currently in the winter sports, looking ahead towards the springtime. Again, one of the nice things for you, and we had Coach Dykstel in the other day. I know I always get confused with him, and of course I remember his dad. But anyway, with Coach Dykstel in, all coaches are in place by the time soccer season gets underway. Does he have an idea of who he wants for staff? Because we didn't really get into that when he was here last week, Nick. But he does need some assistance. Do those that were from Coach Dennison, do they carry over? How does that go about?
So that they do not. When a head coach leaves, either by choice or by force, the assistants are let go as well. And that way, some of that is just, as a head coach, you want to bring in and have people that you're comfortable with, and so far be it for me to force somebody on a head coach. The process, we're going to do some interviews today, and the process really is, he and I will sit down and go through the applicants and see who he's comfortable with, and as long as we as the administration are comfortable, then that will move forward with what he would desire in those areas.
All right. Talk about, I guess, pay. I'll use the word pay. Obviously a head coach makes money for being the head coach. Are assistants offered from the district, from Cheyenne Central? How does that go? Are they offered some stipend for being a part of it?
All of our all of our coaches are. We certainly have volunteers, but each sport is given a number of assistants. In soccer, it's 2, so we would have 2 paid positions through the district that we can offer in that particular sport. So you'd have a head coach and 2 assistants, and it varies kind of from sport to sport. So. But yeah, it's a paid position, and certainly not something somebody could go, hey, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to be the assistant soccer coach at Central as my career. But yeah, that's why you get a lot of teachers and community members that'll do it, because it's an additional, just a little supplement to their income.
Let's quickly look ahead again as we're talking about spring sports. We can have Dirk on as the new head coach on the boys' side. You got Cheyenne, who spends time at LCCC, but again, now she's been in at least the position for a couple seasons now. We mentioned Carrie Barker at the beginning of the show, where again for softball they have been kind of the powerhouse in softball for the past couple of seasons. Let's preview again teams, or at least players. Again, just let's preview that springtime sport over at Cheyenne Central.
Yeah, I obviously softball. I think that it's just been kind of a cool situation. I was fortunate enough to get up and watch the first state championship game, even though we were hosting soccer that year. Our administrative team at Central stepped up to allow me to get up there on Saturday to watch the championship game, which was awesome. Last year I didn't make it, but part of that was we were trying to finish up soccer, and we had an assistant principal that went up and did take it in. I think that's just been a cool story in developing a program and being able to play in the first 2 state championship games. The soccer programs, I think that I love who we have in charge of them. I think that they're great people. I think that they're going to develop those programs and just build on that and make them successful. And then track is something that we've just traditionally been good at. I mean, we've got tremendous coaches, both Coach Wild and Coach Mowry, but tremendous assistant coaches too. And one guy that I'm going to mention, who was my track coach, he was the head track coach at Central when I was there, is Coach Pickett, somebody who I am very fond of. And I don't know how much longer he's going to hang out, but I know this. I know that the students and the track athletes at Central High School benefit tremendously from having contact with Brad Pickett, and he's somebody that I think the world of, and was really instrumental in my life as I grew up and went to Cheyenne Central and went on to run track at Wyoming. he was huge, and I just really appreciate him. I appreciate all of our coaches, but he's one that I just have a connection with that's done a lot for me, and I don't know how much longer he's going to do it, so I want to make sure everybody knows, we're fortunate to have him.
As we're near the top of the hour, and again, we've talked all fall, winter, spring, but let's go back to, again, or at least focus a few days from now, Thursday night, Story Gymnasium, East versus Central, girls and boys basketball, 6 and 7:30, tentative tap times for both of those contests. Chad, size them up for us. What do you make of these games?
Who's going to win, Chad?
Give us over and under, give us spread, give us everything. What do you make of this? This is going to be just two games that are going to be so close.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. I think all four teams are good. I think that it's just so hard. Even in years where I thought Jerry had the better team and we just had a chance to compete, and when I think the teams are as close as they are, it really is a coin flip, and hopefully here's what I want. I want two great games. I want everybody to get out healthy, and I just want a real cool and positive environment for everybody. And we're not charging admission. We will take donations for the Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative, as we have in the past. We talked off air. We don't do the uniform thing anymore, but the kids will have T-shirts. We'll put some pink up in the gym, but yeah, it's just a cool event and something that started when I was coaching, and so I certainly am supportive of that, and I know Jerry is as well. So we just look forward to great games, and hopefully everybody can come out and support these kids, because they work tremendously hard. And I want to thank you guys for always being supportive, of our teams at Central and East, and really across the community. Baseball, everything you guys do, and we're grateful for that, and I hope you know that.
And nice thing, too, and I think you're going to be absolutely right, two games that are evenly matched. East might be the defending state champions on the girls' side, but the Ladians have really performed well this year. And the guys, even with the injury, they have found a way to make themselves, they've sustained themselves past that injury. And again, still a top-flight program as well. All righty, Chad Whitworth joined us here. We will see you Thursday evening out at Story Gym, and we will have more of the Pro Show coming up in a little bit. This is 1480 K-Ray. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. We're back after these words.
1480 K-Ray is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 K-Ray features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 K-Ray, also streaming the games worldwide on the web at 1480kray.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-501-9096. 800-501-9096. 800-501-9096. That's 800-501-9096.
Cheyenne Regional wants to help you eat better, move more, and live longer. Join us at our annual Wake Up to Heart Health event on February 4th at 9 a.m. at the New Blue Community Events Center. You'll hear the survival story of a heart attack patient and his harrowing journey to the hospital, and from a Cheyenne Regional cardiologist about reducing your risk factors for a heart attack. The cost to attend this life-changing event is only $25. To register, visit CheyenneRegional.org/wakeup by January 31st.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-368-1307. 800-368-1307. 800-368-1307. That's 800-368-1307.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So today's your 18th birthday. Hey, Bobby, pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I've got my whole life ahead of me. School, then a job. I've been waiting for this day forever.
And when will you be registering with Selective Service?
What? Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'll get around to it someday.
Someday?
Yeah, you know, like, whenever I get around to it, like, I don't know.
Well, Bobby, if you don't register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday, you can lose out on college loans, job training, and government jobs. And then you'll be, you know, like out of luck.
Bobby, where are you going?
I'm just gonna get online for a minute, then I'll be right back.
To register with Selective Service, log on to www.sss.gov or stop by your local post office.
There. Are you happy now?
Very.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Well, the wise for today, partly sunny, expected daytime high near 28, mostly cloudy. For tonight, a low down to 14 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny and breezy. Look for a daytime high near 25 with some patchy blowing snow. And for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy and breezy, or low down to 14 degrees, also with some patchy blowing snow. Winds will be out of a northwesterly direction at 20 to 25, gusting as high as 35.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Right now on 1480 K-Ray, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 K-Ray. And we welcome you back to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. We bring on our next guest. He is Tyler Kimzey, the head coach of the Pine Bluffs Hornets on the boys basketball side with the victory over Burns this past weekend. The Hornets improved to 14-2, 1-0 in conference play. Tyler, having a chance to sit down at the chute, call that game. Wow! I'll tell you what, you are blessed with those 5 seniors starting for you. They are an absolutely awesome bunch.
Yeah, of course they are. You know, on and off the court, they're just a good group of kids, and I mean the whole team is, all the way from their support staff, from their parents, grandparents, friends outside of the community, and it just makes it all that much easier, and just helps everyone on the team out a bunch having a group like that as seniors.
As I look back on that game, and again, the Dalton Schaefers and the Stu Loricks, but the job that Ryan Forstrom does at the point, so many things, so many intangibles that young man adds to the ball game. Again, pinpoint passes. He can go to the hole with it. He's got good outside shooting, great assists defensively. Wow, the kid is the total package.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's not really any, even though he might be outsized in the post or something, there's really no one that we can't put him on and have confidence in him guarding. It makes press break real easy. It's kind of a cheat code in that regard. There's tons of things. There's just a million things we can do with him in the open court, half court sets. He just makes it real easy and enjoyable. You can just kind of sit back and watch him lead the team when he's on the court.
Well, again, we talk about the offense, but what was more impressive for me in that at least Saturday night contest there at Burns was more so for your team, Coach. Again, the defense that was just smothering, was not allowing kind of that man-on-man defense against Burns, that they couldn't find any entry, or at least any easy entry inside. It was pretty much your team was daring them to shoot from behind the arc. Talk about this defense that the Hornets had. You got installed with this team. it's pretty darn impressive, Coach.
Yeah, they've really bought into it the last couple years. We kind of just talked with them about you got to win each quarter by at least 2 points, and the only way you do that is playing really good defense. And so our goal, as the season progresses, is to get better and better on defense, because the way we kind of look at it, and the kids really understand it, is that defense is the ultimate team game as far as basketball is concerned. I mean, you really have to know what your partner's doing if you're going to be successful on the defensive end. Everyone's got to buy in.
Coach, I want to get your thoughts on, again, what we saw this past Saturday, where Burns in previous seasons was up in Class 3A, have now dropped out of Class 2A, and again in that Southeast quadrant. So again, it's kind of that true rivalry where, again, it now matters to the conference record, and again for those standings towards the regional tournament coming up in March. But for your aspect, Coach, this battle in Laramie County between Pine and Burns, where again it holds a lot more kind of heaviness, especially regarding the standings, your aspect of, again, getting that victory on the road in a very kind of hostile house that was the shoot, at least this past Saturday night.
Yeah, it was a fun atmosphere. I mean, I thought the Burns fans were great. It was an enjoyable atmosphere. Both teams competed really hard. And it was loud, and it was kind of a precursor to what we might see at regionals or states. So it was a fun time.
Tyler, I look at your starting five, and then your choices that you bring off the bench, which would be Justin Lorwick. Also, too, you can bring out there Karsten Freeberg, Jacob Slade. Again, I always am one going, hey, you got 5 seniors out there. They could put this team on their back and take you all the way. But it's depth on the bench. You have to be happy to a point now that you've had games like you did with Burns, where you've given these underclassmen some extra minutes on the floor, and they're not just on the floor taking up time; they're out there contributing.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate with that class too. Those underclassmen, juniors, sophomores, sprinkling a few freshmen, and the future looks good there. And we played up in Sheridan against a tough Wright team, and those underclassmen came in and more or less kind of won the game for us, kind of got us going again. And that was a big help, having that off the bench and kind of get your starters a chance to sit there and cheer their bench on, their teammates on, and then they're kind of ready to go back in with a little bit more juice. So that's real helpful with that group.
Without looking at the North, because that we'll worry about the Northeast when regionals come around. But again, let's look at our Southeast conference, and we talked about it the last time we had you on. We know the Doggers are pretty decent over there at Lingle Fort Laramie. The Tigers not too bad as well. But again, in my opinion, after what I saw this past Saturday, I mean, this conference, it may be up for grabs, but I think in your case, Coach, it's one of those where you guys need to run away and hide from everybody.
Yeah, we just got to do what we can do on the court and control what we can control. And if we do that and do it with effort and do it in the right way, the results will speak for themselves, and we'll be right where we want to be.
You like doing this on the road too, because that also impresses me that you keep winning on the road. And again, getting the win at Burns, even though it's just about 15 minutes down the road. I mean, that's a huge road win for you.
Yeah, right. So we always preach that defense travels with you. Your shot might stay at home. So that's big for us. And when the season really comes down to it, when it matters the most, everybody's on the road. So it's always a good challenge to have.
Well, speaking of being on the road, again, Pine Bluffs on the road this upcoming weekend. We'll have those quadrant battles on the road against Lusk and Lingle Fort Laramie. Coach, I guess question for this upcoming weekend, again, you are the road warriors. We spoke highly about that, but, again, as we now focus on one game at a time, how do we prepare for Lusk? How do we prepare for Lingle Fort Laramie? Kind of go into the game plan for this upcoming weekend on the road.
Oh, for us, the game plan definitely starts on defense, and then we roll into our offense. And we have a decent idea what both teams like to do from what we've watched. They press a little bit, they play a little bit of zone, a little bit of man sprinkled in. So, we're not going to try and change what we do too much. We just kind of stick to what we're good at. get out and push and transition when it's available. If it's not, try not to run it down the throat of a defense that's set. And, we have to have a efficient half-court offense and efficient transition. And, the goal is to always stop transition and force them into tough shots. So that's pretty much the game plan.
All right, Coach. Well, hey, thank you again for allowing us to come out there in Burns, and again, both to you and Coach Zuloff. Great basketball action this past Saturday. Really impressed with your Hornets, and again, this is a team. Hopefully, can bring that banner back to Pine Bluffs because again, you got the horses out there. That's for sure.
Yep. They keep working hard every day, and that's the goal, is to win the last game of the season. So that's what their sights are set towards, and hopefully that's what happens.
All right, Coach. We'll catch you down the road here in a little bit, and appreciate you joining us here on the Pro Show. Tyler Kimzey joining us here on 1480 K-Ray. Again, an impressive group, and I think you'll agree with me, Nick, when we come back after the break. Again, the Pine Bluffs Hornets, they were very impressive in their win against the Burns Broncos this past Saturday. We'll be back after this timeout. This is the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. Back after these words.
For 17 years at Kia of Cheyenne, we have strived to offer the best value in a new vehicle. I'm A.J. Miller, and the new 2023 Kia Seltos will take on the roads with rugged capabilities for all climates. The 2023 Kia Seltos has available all-wheel drive, 10-inch touchscreen, heated seats, and turbocharged power. With the new Kia, get one of the best warranties in the business. Come in to Kia of Cheyenne, call 775-0123, or go to KiaofCheyenne.com, and we'll make it easy.
Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these super radio buys heard only right here. Reina de la Muerte Blanco Tequila, 750 milliliter bottle, $39.99. Tecate or Tecate Light, 12-pack, 12-ounce cans, $12.99. And Tanqueray Orange Seville Gin, 750 milliliter bottle, $19.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway. Cheyenne's low-price leader.
Tired of choosing between errands and adventures? Platte Valley Bank can help you take care of everything without missing anything. Next time you get a check, just sign, snap, and send the money directly into your account with mobile deposit. We can't fill your fridge, but we can save you a trip to the bank. Mark another errand off your list and get back to life. Platte Valley Bank, you belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel? Introducing the Senior Travel Discount Network, brought to you by Low Cost Airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside discounts on over 500 airlines and 500,000 hotels worldwide. And when you call and mention the discount code 60 plus, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices on air and hotel reservations with your phone. We make it easy and fast for you to save money and book a trip. Remember, call the Senior Travel Discount Network. Mention the discount code 60 plus for your free hotel night with your qualified reservation. Call now.
800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. That's 800-510-7126.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Otherwise, for today, partly sunny. Expected daytime high near 28. Mostly cloudy for tonight. Low down to 14 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny and breezy. Look for a daytime high near 25 with some patchy blowing snow. And for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy and breezy. Our low down to 14 degrees, also with some patchy blowing snow. Winds will be out of a northwesterly direction at 20 to 25, gusting as high as 35. We welcome you back to the Pro Show. That helps. Larry Proietti along with Nick Proietti as we are with you up until the top of the hour. Do want to remind you, a repeat of this program from 4 until 6. Coming up today, we will also have more of the Pro Show tomorrow as we continue on from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Already a couple of guests getting set to join us for tomorrow's program. We haven't had a chance to catch up. We talked with her a little bit during our pregame show on Saturday, Nick, but we will have the Lady Hornets head coach.
Yeah, we've alluded to bringing her on. Again, I've sent out emails. We found out this past Saturday that the email went to the junk file, so instead reached out to her, and again, she will be on. So Lindsey Forbes, head coach of the Lady Hornets, will join us as, again, that'll complete every head coach getting an opportunity to speak with us and preview their team and talk about the season that is right now underway again in 2023. Also, too, so she'll join us tomorrow at noon. 11 a.m., we will have an old friend in studio. We haven't talked to him in a while because, again, we went kind of more focused on the local side, kind of at least put UW athletics to the back burner, but as now we've kind of moved into the two-day format with the Pro Show. Again, we'll have at 11 a.m. in studio founder of 7220sports.com, Cody Tucker, back in. Again, we've had him in years prior, especially back when it was Miami Sports Talk Today, but again, we'll join us, talk about the Cowboys, talk about the CSU victory this past Saturday at the AA. Cowboys, again, picking up their first Mountain West Conference victory in a big way in the border war, winning by a point nonetheless against the CSU Rams. So we'll talk with him, talk basketball, talk again a little football as well too with Cody Tucker. So again, tune in for tomorrow's edition of the Pro Show here on 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480KRay.com on the audio side. Video live streaming as we do on the 1480KRay YouTube channel. Do want to address as well too on the audio side. Again, we mentioned it on the broadcast for football, or at least for the basketball games this past weekend. For K-Ray Reports yesterday, today's show, it won't affect tomorrow because, again, our unit will officially be in here later on today. Again, we are having those audio issues where we had our mixer unit go out on us. So, again, ordered a new one. It is coming in today. So, again, we'll get that adjusted. Again, the audio issues that you're hearing on the YouTube side, and I know even on the replay, again, will not be affected moving forward as we'll have that new unit in. So, thankfully, that's how it stands. Other promo as well, too, later on today, as we mentioned, 4 to 6 replay of today's show, the Pro Show. For 8 to 10 o'clock, we will have the Golden Age of Radio. Again, 2 hours of, at least back in the day, radio programming, All-Star Western Theater, first with 2 episodes, and then right after that, Meet the Press with 2 episodes from, again, way back in the day, again, around the 50s and 60s mark. So looking forward to those programs here on 1480 K-Ray.
All right, let's go back, and again, we got East Central coming up on Thursday, but I want to go back to Burns and Pine Bluffs. And again, glad that we were there this past Saturday because, again, in addition to East Central and South Central, Southeast, when you have the intercity battles, whatever sports, it's a neat deal. But talk about a community, and again, you're talking about 2 small communities, even though there's some spillover from Cheyenne, and again, and all the communities in between Burns and Pine. But boy, I'll tell you what, for that little building there called the Chute, a lot of folks came out and really saw some good basketball. I will say, first off, in the girls' game, it was 52 to 48 in favor of the Lady Bronx Barry Ward's team, holding on for the victory.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that's plain and simple how you recap that contest was they held on, had a 10-point lead in that fourth quarter, and then kind of sagged off a bit on the Lady Hornets where Pine Bluffs took advantage of that. A couple of key turnovers by Burns. They got back into it. At least Pine Bluffs at a point in time, and I think it was around near the 1-minute mark, they got it down as low as a 2-point lead for the Burns Lady Bronx. So give credit to Pine. They fought tooth and nail all the way until the end. Lady Bronx, though, picked up the victory in a close one. And again, are at least as of right now with a victory. Burns on the girls' side, 7-9, 1-1 in at least quadrant record, or at least conference record. Pine Bluffs with a loss, 5-11, 0-1 in conference. So again, tough loss for Pine Bluffs. Again, impressive ish win for the Lady Broncs. Again, that fourth quarter, though, that's kind of the concern of this team's got to play that full 4 if they want to advance, especially as we now look towards, again, as we get ever closer to that regional tournament.
Well, I don't, again, with the Lady Hornets, I don't think you want to play them in the regionals. They're going to get better. They're young for the most part, but they're also big. And if they can start using that size to their advantage, which they tried towards the end. Matter of fact, they fouled out DJ Cower from the Lady Broncs, and I thought she was just a force inside.
Yeah.
She was handling the big ladies very well. But this is a young team that Lindsey Forbes has over in Pine Bluffs.
They got size. They got height. They got size without a doubt. It's something that's going to develop for the next couple of seasons. Again, let's not forget that. Again, this ladies program that won at least a 2A state title back in 2016. They were a part of that state tournament, or at least again got the regionals. They had high hopes last season, but again got bounced in that regional. Again, it's a team that is developing. It is rebuild, again, with the youth and experience that they do have, but we will see as they develop throughout the season and, again, moving into 23-24 what that Lady Hornets team will look like. Looking at the standings as right now on the girls' side in Class 2A in the Southeast, at the top, again, just with at least the quadrant record at 1-0, Lincoln Fort Laramie still at the top and 9-4 overall. Lusk is in second place as of now, again, 4-7, 1-1 in conference. Burns is 7-9, 1-1 in conference. Again, their one victory over Pine, and then Pine Bluffs, again, rounding out the bottom at 5-11, 0-1 in conference play.
And Barry Ward's Lady Broncs, again, 4 juniors, 1 senior that start. It's a veteran squad, and I really like the play of Jordan Grease. She was absolutely sensational all over the court. Again, in addition to handling the basketball, kind of that Ryan Fornstrom of the Lady Broncs. I mean, she a good shooter, good rebounder, backcourt pressure. I was very impressed with her, and she went the full 32 minutes without even taking a break.
Both teams have their flaws, without a doubt, and it's something that hopefully get kind of squared away as we approach regional tournament there in the early part of March. But yeah, again, Lady Broncs, if they play that full 4 quarters out there, again, avoid what happened there late in the fourth of that kind of potential collapse. Again, Pine got it down as close as 2, and at a point in time in that fourth quarter, again, it was a double-digit lead for the Lady Broncs. But again, turnovers, kind of the one-and-done shots, if they can clear some things up, yeah, keep an eye on this Lady Broncs team, who could make some movement in that regional tournament when they take on the other East teams, whether out of the Northeast or the Southeast. Again, keep an eye on Burns to see if they can make it back to the state tournament, which, again, it's been a long time since the Lady Broncs have made that statement. Again, as we reminded you, on the Lady Broncs side, 0 state titles in that school's history. And again, obviously they're hungry for one. Again, Coach Ward hoping for one. It's going to take a lot this season, but if they can develop and improve and, again, play that full 4 quarters, keep an eye on this kind of potential dark horse team in 2A.
And on the flip side, let's go to the boys, where Pine Bluffs has had that success, that taste of victory on the state championship on the boys' side. 65-27. That was the final score against Burns. Could have been a lot worse. Again,
it was close early on in that contest. Again, Burns came out strong, had an early lead, but then it was Pine ever since. Again, trying to remember what was the key factor, at least, again, wasn't so much at least what we saw in East versus South, but again, there was a crucial play, and it changed the dynamic of that contest where Pine, after that play, basically never looked behind. It was all the Hornets. They took and just absolutely dominated. Again, as I mentioned, a defense, that was impressive. Compared to anything we've seen in Class 4A, you move on down now to Class 2A, Pine Bluffs Hornets, that was just mightily impressive at just not allowing anything. Burns tried every which way to get inside, just could not.
Well, and again, too, they, without beating up the team, they got to get more offensive output from Cooper Lakin, Cody Hape. These are their big guys on the floor. You're getting scoring from Cody Piasecki, Jared Allen. Again, the big guys at 6'2", 6'3", and they are small. They are a smaller outfit. But you look at Stu Lorick, who is 6'3". You look at Colin Jessen, who's 6'4". Again, those guys are tough inside. They are going to deny that inside to you. Fornstrom, Schaefer, Alex Sloan, they're all quick on the floor. That starting five for the Hornets. Yeah, do they have a team that can go all the way right now? Well, I haven't seen Tongue River, so I'm not going to.
There's a few contenders in that Northeast.
And Bighorn, but watching Pine Bluffs, they are a different breed of cat. They are pretty doggone good.
Burns, again, on the boys' side, not to beat them up, but again, it seems like what we saw out there on the court, again, where they're going to take on sizable teams, whether, again, here in this Southeast quadrant or, again, moving up in the Northeast, that Burns, you can tell it's a rebuild. That they are developing a few players and see what they are next season. Again, can this team make it to the state's tournament? I just don't see it, especially just how talented this Eastern Conference is in Class 2A. Again, whether it is Pine Bluffs, you look at Lingle Fort Laramie, Tongue River, Bighorn, right as well, too. Again, we talk, again, even with Coach Kimzey right there, again, he said, hey, on the road against Wright, that's one of the more tougher teams they've seen. So, again, for Burns, the road to get to the state tournament is a little bit tougher than what I would compare to the Lady Hornets.
And only 4 can qualify to go to the state. And right now,
you might, again, who might qualify, you may take 3 out of the Northeast and then Pine.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, again, you look at it, standings right now on the boys' side in Class 2A in the Southeast quadrant, Pine sits at top, 14-2, 1-0 in conference play, again, getting the win over Burns. Lingle Fort Laramie behind them at 8-5, 1-0 in conference play. Lost 2-9. They are 1-1, however, in conference, so again, puts them in third place just due to that conference record. And Burns sits at 4-12, 0-2 in conference play. So again, that's kind of the issue right now with Burns. Can they shore things up by regional time? Can they make it in? Can they be that dark horse team in the state tournament?
Not by scoring 27 points.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
They got to get that offense in gear. And on the flip side of that, let's move over to Class 4A.
As we move backward in time, yeah, again, we look at that was Saturday's action, Friday's action, which was supposed to be Thursday's action, but again, with the weather events and again all the snow we had here in Cheyenne, again, every event got pushed back. So again, it was East versus South. It was supposed to be at Story on Thursday. Instead, it was now Friday at Cheyenne South. Girls and boys action, and I mean, there's not much to say. Again, I missed the first quarter trying to run around to get at least equipment figured out, again, with our mixer going out. But outside of that, again, for the majority of that girls contest, if we'll start there, what can you say? Again, East, yeah, we know what East is. They are the dominant team. They are, and again, I equate it to, this is now, it was a sleeping giant that has been awakened due to that loss on the road against Scottsbluff. I think that loss, as much as you wanted the record, you wanted that history, but now I think that did more good than harm to Cheyenne East, that this has awoken a potential superpower that, again, could maybe just start a new record and run the table all the way to the state title.
There's no pressure anymore. So, and again, too, I think the Lady Thunderbirds are a group that pretty much will shrug off the loss. I think they're pretty much a group that shrugs off the pressure. But Cheyenne South,
clearly they did this Friday night.
Yeah, and again, it was a running clock. So Coach Epler over at Cheyenne South, and he's got some really good kids. I mean,
he's got talent in the making. Again, we've said this many a time, and Coach Epler kind of admits to it as well too. Of again, not this season. Wait for where we are in 24, where we are in 25. That again, this team could make some splashes. They're just not ready right now. And again, the record does indicate that. The play against Cheyenne East did indicate that. Again, Cheyenne South with the loss again finds themselves 1-12 overall, 0-2 in conference play. East with a victory, 11-1, 2-0 in conference play. Again, that one loss for Cheyenne East again on the road outside of the state against Scottsbluff, the Lady Bearcats.
And you have to feel for the seniors, Mona Montgomery, Ebony Gunn, Bailey Williams. They're not going to taste their hard work because they're going to graduate. But you look at Brennan, Jordan Brennan. I want to throw in there Amaya Smith. Really impressed with Amaya Smith.
Yep.
She's going up against the tall timber. Look, East threw 3 kids over 6 feet at her. There's also the Van Tassel youngster. She's a junior. So again, for Coach Epler, it may not be even close this season. But next season, he's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
They're going to have that talent and that experience.
It's a similar of what we saw a couple seasons ago with Chad DeBryan at the helm, where, again, he had all those seniors. Again, injuries kind of laid plague to that team. And, again, if Coach Epler can keep that team for next season healthy, yeah, keep an eye out. They will be that potential dark horse in Class 4A on the girls' side without a doubt. East, though, again, not much more we can say of, again, they're impressive. They do every aspect of the ball correct. And, again, it was a dominating victory. This weekend, again, was the chance for the Lady Thunderbirds to get very healthy, where, again, you dominated Cheyenne South at South, but, again, we focus our efforts to the day beforehand as well very quickly. Again, we had that battle of East versus Laramie, Laramie coming to the Thunderdome, where you said, hey, who knows what to make of this contest? Well, now you know that, again, Laramie's competitive. They got the victory over Central, even though, again, that was at home against Cheyenne Central, but again, Lady Plainsmen, don't turn your back on them still, even with the loss on the road at Cheyenne East.
And you were pretty much gone through that first quarter, where the Lady Thunderbirds were stone cold from the outside. They were not hit. They were one and dones. So, again, the Lady Thunderbirds may, again, with 59 points, it may not look impressive. I mean, the 59-26 obviously is impressive, but they could have put up a few more. They came out cold shooting at Cheyenne South. And then all of a sudden, you got defense matched in with easy transition buckets. And then you got Lilliadall starting to hit from the outside. You got Schlabs hitting from the outside. Her last name, is it Long, hitting from the outside? I mean, this team is loaded. It is loaded with a lot of talent. And again, you cannot praise the freshmen enough. Brown, Hawes, now the other one's going to slip my mind right now. But I'm just saying, you've got Hall, Peyton Hall. Those three kids are absolutely marvelous off the bench. And they don't, for freshmen, they come out there and they play like they've been part of this varsity for the last 3 years.
Yeah, without a doubt. Again, that's why this Lady Thunderbirds team is still, in my opinion, even though you look on the west side, Cody is still unbeaten over there, but still, who's the best team? And I think, again, proved and kind of got healthy this weekend, again, getting the victory over Laramie, again, stamping Laramie's first loss of the season as well, to make that note. Again, they were undefeated, and they pick up their first loss against Cheyenne East, at least at Cheyenne East. And then, again, putting up the running clock against Cheyenne South. Cheyenne East Lady Thunderbirds still, in my opinion, the number one team in Class 4A, still a heavy contender to get the three-peat as a state championship. Laramie, again, you put them in the conversation of, yes, will they make it to the state tournament? Yes, they should. They still look competitive. Central, you kind of you question, you feel a little bit worried. Again, they got the win against South at Story Gymnasium, but again, the loss on the road against Laramie. Looking at the standings right now.
Stop right there. Loss on the road by the Lady Indians. East had Laramie at home, and they battled. This Lady Plainsman team, I think, when the dust settles, and again, out of this southeast quadrant, you might be sending three. I don't know. Right now, again, the Lady Indians, we have seen them 4 times this year already, Nick. They're kind of like the Cardiac Kids. They're slow. They go into a lull, and then the second half comes out, and they are a different team. They're not afraid to play from behind.
Now, looking at the standings right now in 4A Southeast Quadrant on the girls' side, Cheyenne East, as I mentioned, at the top, 11-1, 2-0 in conference play. Laramie, 13-1. They are 1-1. They find themselves in second. Central, 9-3, 1-1. Again, they pick up their first loss on the road again, as I mentioned, to the Laramie Lady Plainsmen. And Cheyenne South, 1-12, 0-2 in conference play. So that's how it at least sizes up right now. But again, very quickly, East, Lady Thunderbirds taking on Cheyenne South of that contest. So had a feeling, again, you hate to say it is, again, we're rooting for all, at least high schools, but again, you got the crosstown battle. One's going to win, one's going to lose. Sorry to admit that you had a feeling East was going to win and win pretty comfortably in this situation, and that was kind of the unfortunate thing, is they did, especially with the running clock, and that running clock hit pretty early, or at least kind of midway of that third quarter.
Well, and here's the deal. I don't foresee a running clock Thursday night.
No.
I really don't. I think Central has the height and the talent to match up with Cheyenne East. Do I think they beat Cheyenne East? It's going to be a
long shot.
It's going to be a chore. I'm not going to lie to you about that one, because I do believe the Lady Thunderbirds just a step quicker than Cheyenne Central. But I think it's going to be a good contest. And if East wins by 10 plus,
I can see that.
You can see it. I don't foresee it. I think that the Lady Indians are going to be close throughout the contest. And again, they are a second-half group.
I read too much into that Laramie loss, again, albeit on the road, again, with the weather conditions, all that stuff, again, playing back-to-back games. But I read into that of that loss against a very talented Laramie Lady Plainsman team. East is a far step better, in my opinion, than the Lady Plainsman. That, again, Central is going to have to play that near-perfect game if they want to pull off the upset. Again, can East win by double-digit figures? Again, it won't be a running clock. No, that's not even a reality. But can they win comfortably by 10-plus points? I think so. Again, where we've seen Central have those struggles where, again, you talk cold shooting out of the box for Cheyenne East. Central's kind of find themselves in the same situation where, again, they can go through those lulls. We saw it in Greeley. We saw it against Rock Springs where, again, those teams didn't take advantage of those lulls. East is that team who will take advantage, at least cash in on those turnovers, convert them into points, and again, they can go on that hot streak and just put points and points and points just like gobs up on the board in a flash. We know how quick, how fast, how talented this East team is. That's the only concern right now for Cheyenne Central, for the Lady Indians, is that, again, when this East team gets going, as soon as you know it, you're trailing by 10, 15.
Well, the East Lady Thunderbirds and the Cheyenne Central Lady Indians, they play with a lot of risk. I don't want to use the word reckless abandon, but they're so intense defensively, especially that trapping game. The Lady Indians, for me, to be, again, under 10 points if they are to fall to the East High Thunderbirds, Lady Thunderbirds. For Central, they got to keep their players on the floor. Garrick's got to be out there,
Yeah, that team is very foul-prone.
That's exactly, and even the kids that come off the bench, the Barrett kid. You got to keep these kids out there and out of foul difficulty because, again, Coach Kirkbride, even with his daughter, she happened because she's undersized playing at that 3, but she has to stay out there because she's, good on the boards, bringing the ball down. But she gets fouled. She gets into foul trouble. And again, I think Coach Kirkbride has a very solid group of 8, maybe 9 coming down. 4 off the bench. But the thing is, once they get into foul difficulty, that's when I see they step back.
It's a difference of a couple weeks from again where we were here. As we were entering conference play to now seeing what happened the weekend that was here in Class 4A, especially on the girls' side. Central, again, I thought they could be competitive with Cheyenne East, could pull off an upset victory at Story Gymnasium this season in those rivalry games. Now, again, after seeing what happened this weekend, again, I stopped myself and I kind of go, East should win comfortably, and Central now I think kind of puts themselves as, yes, they are the 3rd best team in this quadrant, in a very talented quadrant. Again, I think the Laramie Lady Plainsmen, I don't think that was a fluke. I think Laramie comes to town, comes over to the Fieldhouse. I think Laramie could defeat Central once again. I think that, again, Lady Plainsmen are a for real team. I think that Central win at home cemented them that keep an eye out on this team in Class 4A. They're a for real threat.
And I disagree. I think once Laramie comes over, the game's going to be meaning a lot to the Lady Indians as well.
Well, again, they were competitive on the road at the Thunderdome against Cheyenne East.
Yeah. Well, again, the Fieldhouse is a try again. Going to enemy buildings here in our conference, are always tough. Laramie is one of the tough houses. Even at the old gymnasium, when I saw great Central and East teams, I saw them struggle over there in Laramie. Again, Laramie gets great fan support for the high schools. Okay, not so much of the Cowboys. But my point is, Laramie's got to come over here. It's a different story. I want to talk boys basketball, but I also want to take a timeout. So we'll come back. East Central boys on the way, coming up Thursday night at Story Gymnasium. We're back with more of the Pro Show right here on 1480 K-Ray. For nearly 30 years, family-owned and operated Lennox Auto Body, along with the Auto Glass and Detail Center, has been serving our community with quality and customer satisfaction. It's a pretty simple drill. When you want it done right the first time, call Lennox Auto Body for an appointment at 307-634-6608. Lennox Auto Body at 1020 Dunn Avenue. And the Auto Glass and Detail Center. Remember, it's not clean until it's Lennox clean at 617 East Pershing Boulevard.
Lennox Auto Body. No shortcuts, no compromise.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one stop to shop for these super radio buys heard only right here. Reina de la Muerte Blanco Tequila, 750 milliliter bottle, $39.99. Tecate or Tecate Light, 12-pack, 12-ounce cans, $12.99. And Tanqueray Orange Seville Gin, 750 milliliter bottle, $19.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader. In the 1960s, Bruce Lee said, "Be water, my friend." The meaning of that advice has been debated ever since. Here at First Tier Bank, we believe he meant that preserving your liquid assets in a high-yield money market account can get you a decent yield on your funds while maintaining your liquidity in choppy financial markets. We've got some of the best money market rates around, and we'd like to invite you to be water and make your liquid assets work for you. Stop by or call First Tier Bank today with 2 locations to serve you at 1508 Stillwater Avenue and 1800 Cary Avenue in downtown Cheyenne, or check us out at firsttierbanks.com. First Tier Banks, member FDIC.
Hop into the K-Ray Time Machine each Monday through Thursday for the golden age of radio, featuring famous radio classics such as Jack Armstrong and Suspense Theater, along with pioneers in the entertainment industry like Bob Hope and Abbott and Costello, along with many other performers who've captured our ears many, many years ago. Join us for the golden age of radio Monday through Thursday, 8 until 10 p.m. on 1480 K-Ray, also 101.1 FM, and you can also stream all of our programming on 1480kray.com.
We are the key to your cleaning success. The Key People that provides affordable office and professional cleaning services for over 40 years with exceptional customer care. All of our contractors have background checks and are licensed and bonded. We guarantee you a safe and secure service that is tailored to your individual and business needs. The Key People do not impose year-long contracts, and all quotes are free, confidential, and personalized. Call the Key People at 1-800-468-8283. That's 1-800-468-8283.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Well, the wise for today, partly sunny, expected daytime high near 28, mostly cloudy. For tonight, low down to 14 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny and breezy. Look for a daytime high near 25 with some patchy blowing snow. And for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy and breezy, or low down to 14 degrees, also with some patchy blowing snow. Winds will be out of a northwesterly direction at 20 to 25, gusting as high as 35. Again, thank you to Chad Whitworth. Join us in the 11 o'clock hour, and most recently here in our noon hour, we had a chance to talk with Tyler Kimzey, head coach of the Pine Bluffs Hornets. All right, preview East Central 1.
We haven't really talked about the boys contest.
That's what I'm talking about, the boys.
Well, I mean, East-South, though, if we look back to that game, we didn't really get a touch on that. Again, running clock, again, we could be quick about it, but again, it was a running clock situation in that one. I think, and again, you wanted to at least touch on this as well, too. The infamous moment in that contest where, again, it was, or at least it was kind of an issue with Cheyenne South. And I think I said it during the ball game, and again, I'll stand by it here today on Tuesday, that this kind of lays on Chad DeBryan and his staff, where, again, it was a technical foul, too many players on the court, again, 6 players on that court. Again, East recognized it, the refs eventually recognized it. It looked like at first refs were going to allow it
No, they rallied together to go through the rule book.
Yeah, they rallied together and eventually gave the technical foul. Again, too many players on the court against Cheyenne South. We look at that technical foul, which, again, East got free throws, got the ball. That was the massive turning point where, again, this game was close. East and South, again, South was giving East a run for their money early on in this ballgame.
They were up by 3, 26-23.
Yeah, had a lead in that contest, but ever since that technical foul early on in that ballgame, Cheyenne East, similar to the Lady Thunderbirds, put Cheyenne South in the rearview mirror. That was a big key turning factor.
How about again, 88-40 score? 88-40. And they were down. And again, too, yeah, you're right. And I'm sorry, Chad, Chad DeBryan, we got to throw that on you. Because, again, you and your staff, because, again, whenever you call a timeout, they go to the table, they want to know how many timeouts you have left. They make a substitution. Now, there was a timeout. And, a little bit of confusion when they came out of the huddle. And again,
it seemed like there was
the emotion. They're winning.
Yeah, and there was many moments it seemed like throughout that game that again South had a little miscommunication of who was coming on, who was coming off. Where again you had players kind of just standing on the court going, "Is it me? Is it him? Am I coming to you? What's going on here?" Again, you had that confusion out there. And yes, again that technical foul with again too many players on the court. Again that blame. I think, in my personal opinion, does lay on that coaching staff again, and it starts with Chad DeBryan, where you can't have that in a situation. And again, it
not an emotional game like it was.
An emotional, close game. That was the turning point. I think, plain and simple, again in that contest, that was a massive turning point. That was a shift in momentum, and it was all East for the remainder of that ball game. Who again got a running clock against Cheyenne South.
And how about East running off 20 consecutive points?
Yeah.
So, again, basically, you shot yourself in the foot with the technical, all right? And if I'm not mistaken, I think East hit 1 out of 2 on the shots.
Yeah.
But they got the ball
back.
out. They got the bucket. And then all of a sudden, it was like, wow, this game just shifted so much momentum. And again, the South High Fighting Bison, for as small as they are,
they're competitive.
They are
fighters.
competitive, yeah. I look at a kid like Noah Hagberg. How many charges did he absorb? 3 in that game.
Yeah.
You're just sitting here. Gabe Hernandez had a not a lights out game, but he heated up for 14 points. Pountney, Robert Pountney, he got into foul trouble early. You got to keep him on the floor.
Yeah.
And when Pountney's on the floor, it makes Caden Hart's job that much easier. Once he was gone, I mean, the pressure on Hart with the East High trapping defense, it was real tough. So, again, Jonathan Strong, he was undersized. You're going up against Jolly. You were going up against Cam Hayes, who came off the bench in Coulter McAnally's absence after McAnally got hurt.
Which, do want to update it, it seemed like it again, at least had this, at least I don't want to say confirmation, but again, it seemed like from at least folks that, again, it seems like Coulter McAnally might be done for the season with that injury. So, again, we will see. Again,
and I'm sure the Utah Utes are holding their collective breath right now as well.
Probably not too happy about that, but we'll see. Again, this Thursday we'll get a confirmation. But, again, as of right now in the rumor mill, it looks like Coulter McAnally might be out for the remainder of the season for basketball for Cheyenne East. But, again, we go back to that technical foul for Cheyenne South. That was the difference, I think, in my opinion, of a competitive to a blowout contest, where we kind of went into this game saying, should South win this game? Probably not, but you figure they give them a fight and a shot at it. And again, we got that early on
at home,
and ever since that technical foul, it got extremely lopsided. And for me, I didn't expect that. I expect East, to win that ball game without a doubt, but I figured it'd be a 5-7 kind of nail-biting clincher at the last minute. It had all that indication, but that technical foul, you go back and you look at that moment, that was the biggest difference maker of competitive to a blowout victory in favor of Cheyenne East. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing, where I don't think that reflects of the talent that is on this Cheyenne South Fighting Bison team. Again, I don't think if those two match up, which again will now be at a neutral site back to Story Gymnasium, East will be the technical home team in that game later on in the season. But you play that game again, now at neutral site, I don't think the outcome's the same. I don't think East should win, but I don't think they win that handle.
And going up against a crosstown rival, Cheyenne Central.
Yeah.
After what I saw this past Friday night, I think Central, and again, I'm going to go to the boys' side here. I think Central is a little better than Cheyenne East. That's my opinion.
Yeah, this one, again, flip the coin, where I think East girls have a definitive advantage versus East.
They should win, yeah.
They should win that contest. This is a coin flip where East looked very impressive Friday night. Central, again, picking up their victories. Very quickly, I want to at least go back to Laramie. Laramie, I'm kind of sagging a bit on them right now. Can that team make it to the state tournament? I don't know. Again, the true test for me right now, or at least I'm curious to see how they fare against Northeast teams or against some of those at least teams are right now on the overall record look like they're struggling, but let's see how they match up at home and on the road. That's where my litmus test will be for the Laramie Plainsmen. But
here we go.
East Central, though, again, this battle of the boys, you can't give really an edge where, again, both teams have stars out with injuries. Both can be up and down. Both can have cold spells, can come out strong, red hot. I don't know what to make of it.
And McAnally, who's been a starter with that team for the last 3 seasons, if he is down and out, next man up will be Cam Hayes.
Yep.
And Cam's pretty good. I mean, he's a good athlete. But what I said in the broadcast, and I will stand by it.
It deplenishes that bench.
That bench is weak. And again, no disrespect to a Joey Rail or Brendan Bowman.
Maybe wrong terminology, but either way, it is something that bench play it's got to improve.
Yeah, it is weak after Cam Hayes. So again, you sit here and talk about East, Drew Jackson, Nathan Marich, and even more pressure now on Kaiser Jolly, Garrett Schlabs. These guys are good.
Yeah.
And you put Cam Hayes into that mix, that starting 5 is pretty doggone good.
For the East Central matchup coming up again this Thursday night against 6 and 7:30 games we'll have here live, 1480 carry. Looking forward to it again. Girls up first, boys up second. In that boys contest, is a player that I spotlight and see if he can really make a statement, especially on the inside. And again, he's getting challenged on the inside, especially by Jolly. I look at James Brown. Yeah. See if he could be the difference maker and really step up and have one of those Greeley, at least tournament games that we saw all 3 of those days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday down there in Colorado. That if he can step up to that level, so yeah, Central should win and win, by a couple possessions. I think if he can get his game going, if he can get in the inside, and if he can work Kaiser Jolly on the inside, yeah.
See, and then you look with Cheyenne Central again with the loss of Talich. And Jackson Whitworth, who was a 2-year starter prior to being number 1 off the bench. So you got him and Shumway in the backcourt. You move Wildinger over to Talich's spot. You got Sawyer, who's developing into probably a stud basketball player on Cheyenne Central, and you mentioned Brown. But coming off the bench, you got both the D-Hoffs, Marcus and Mason, and you got Mason Tafoya. Well, they're not going to give you a lot of points, but they're going to give you good defense.
Yeah.
They're going to crash the boards, and they're not going to turn the ball over. That's why, again, both teams are
turnovers have happened for Central. We've seen that again. Go back to the Rock Springs contest. There were some questionable passes down the court.
Both teams right now going to have to live and die off their starting 5s. That's my opinion.
Again,
not good for both.
Who has the best starting 5 right now between the two?
I got to go Central.
Yeah, I'd probably lean with the Indians, without a doubt. Again, this is so evenly matched up. This could come down to the wire. This could come right to the buzzer between these two. Looking at the standings very quickly.
Let me interrupt you real quick. The best outside shooting, East. Inside, Central. Let's see, you got Jackson, you got Marich, and Hayes. All 3 of those guys are pretty good from the outside. You got Sawyer, Wildinger. Sawyer likes to do his business inside. Shumway's not much of a shooter. Whitworth is not much of a scorer as well. So, again, you're going to make your living inside with Brown, Wildiger, and Sawyer.
Who's got the better defense? I'd say Central. Inside shooting, yes, I would say Central. Outside shooting, you can make a case for Central. We've seen some impressive play. Free throw, I think that's a wash. Both teams have had their struggles this season. Like I said, I give the slight edge to Cheyenne Central. It is a flip of the coin, but this one should come down to the wire. This should be very competitive. This should be, again, that matinee contest that everyone's talking about. East versus Central, again, 7:30 tentative tip time coming up this Thursday, live from Story Gymnasium. Standings right now as it stands for a Southeast quadrant. Central at the top, 12-2, 2-0 in the conference. Chinese behind them, only just because, again, they played one last game. They're 11-2, 2-0 in conference. So, again, you got 1 versus 2 right there in the quadrant going up, coming up this Thursday evening. Laramie 8-6, 0-2 in the conference, and Cheyenne South 4-9, 0-2 in the conference as well. So that's how it stands. Southeast as of right now, as we again get into more conference action. Again, the big contest. This Thursday's contest between East and Central might help me put in who. At least from my opinion, who I put in favorite out of this quadrant and possibly the Eastern Conference as that representative in the state title game. Central wins. I kind of put them in the forefront, going, okay, they're for real. I think this is that true test. This is going to have that playoff atmosphere as well too. Central wins this game. I would come on this program again immediately Tuesday and go, yeah, Central's now my new favorite to be at least in that state title game.
Yeah, I'm going to wait until that last conference matchup between these two to see who comes out of this. Because, again, you still got to get Laramie. And, again, for Central, you get
Central
Laramie.
got Laramie. East got Laramie.
I know, but you get Laramie. Central gets Laramie over here, or East has got to go over there.
I don't think it changes. I don't think Laramie beats either Central or East
all this
season.
And my point being on all of this, Nick, and again, not being goofy here, but I go back to, a former coach who said it's not how you play now, it's how you play at that end of February leading into the conference. And I still think Central had that first moment of, okay, Talich is out. How do we respond?
Well, team chemistry,
And I think the chemistry now is starting to balance out. If McAnally is gone, and let's hope not, because the guy's he's a stud athlete. They need him out there. If McAnally is gone and Hayes is a bench player coming off, you're gonna have to work him in as that again that 4, because he's gonna have to help out Jolly. So again, but your bench gets that much weaker. That's my point. So again, it's going to take some time now, a couple, 3-4 games for East to figure it out, and I don't think they figure it out here Thursday against Central.
Again, it's going to be such a close contest. Can go either way. East, Central, I give my edge to Central slightly. That again, this will come down to the final play, and
it'll be a close game.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch. Again, encourage everyone to tune in, 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480KRay.com on the audio side, and video live streaming as we do on the 1480KRay YouTube channel. Again, East Central live from Story, 6 and 7:30 tentative tap times for, again, girls up first, boys up second. Again, that should be a fun one this Thursday here in town. Cheyenne South, as you talked about, again, how they're playing now compared to later on. Like I said, South, let me see how they are on the road against the Northeast and how they take on the Northeast here at Cheyenne South. That will give me a good litmus of, can this team get back in the state tournament? That's going to be my true test for the Fighting Bison. I'm not counting them out right now. I don't want to count them out of the state tournament, but I need to see more. I need to see more, yeah.
They look pretty grim as of this past Friday night. All right, are we already at the top of the hour? Holy cow. Again, do join us tomorrow as we will have a couple of guests. Again, Lindsey Forbes, who's the head coach of the Lady Hornets, and that means we've got all our coaches in for talking some hoops. And then you mentioned earlier Cody Tucker, founder of 7220
Sports.com.
There
you go.
Will be joining us as well, and we'll get a chance to talk Cowboys. We'll also get a chance.
We're going to talk NFL playoffs.
We're pretty happy on our side.
Back to the NFC Championship game. 49ers at least against Philadelphia in Philly. Kansas City hosted the Bengals. My Final Four pick went pretty much as I predicted and expected. No surprises there. You went with the Bills. They got shocked. So Josh Allen, once again, still not bringing that team to the promised land. So it is what it is. But we'll recap the playoffs, preview the AFC and NFC Championship, and also talk any again NBA notes, MLB as well too. We have a few teams making movement right now as we get closer to the winter meeting. So again, a lot of pro stuff to talk about.
Winter meetings, you mean spring training?
Spring training, yeah.
I was going to say too, going back to the pros real quick. How about Logan Wilson getting a chance to get into that championship game against?
He was there last year. Again,
I know, but again, somehow, some way, there's going to be a Wyoming Cowboy representation.
I think there's 3 Wyoming Cowboys, but at least for Logan Wilson, it's more so of a true Wyoming night, at least in that AFC Championship. Again, Logan Wilson coming in from Casper, again, playing at Natrona County, so he's getting that opportunity to, again, win another AFC Championship with the Cincinnati Bengals, which
it's a neat deal. I think it's a neat deal.
I'm just saying, right now, I think Bengals have a legitimate shot with the injury to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right, so for Nick Proietti, I'm Larry Proietti. We wrap up the Pro Show here this Tuesday edition. We'll be back at it again tomorrow beginning at 11 o'clock. We now return to regular programming on 1480K.